What the heck is a device, an entity, or an integration? What's a helper or a service? When you start your smart home journey with Home Assistant, the terminology can be a bit confusing and sometimes overwhelming. While the official documentation is great in general, I think it does not do the best job possible explaining the concepts behind Home Assistant. Fortunately, they are actually quite well thought out, and once you understand them, simple to use. Here is a quick rundown of all the concepts behind Home Assistant and how they build the awesome smart home platform that is Home Assistant. Follow this guide and you will be ready to build smart home automations in no time. In Home Assistant, a device usually refers to a physical device that is connected to your smart home network, such as a smart light bulb, a robot vacuum, or a motion sensor. You can assign a name and a room to each device for easier management. Sometimes a device can also be something a bit more abstract, like the status of some external software, like my Edgard Home Proxy, for example. Each device has one or more entities associated with it, which are essentially the individual functions or features of the device that Home Assistant can interact with. They can be a control or some kind of data series. For example, a smart light bulb device may have entities such as on-off switch, brightness control, or color control. A motion sensor could show motion detected, not detected, the brightness, or remaining battery power. Each entity can be controlled separately through Home Assistant's user interface. To connect devices and entities to the actual physical devices, Home Assistant uses so-called integrations. In Home Assistant, an integration is the connection between third-party service or a device and the Home Assistant platform. Integrations allow Home Assistant to interact with devices, services, and APIs that are not natively supported by the platform. They are provided by the manufacturers or many independent developers. For example, if you have a smart light bulb from a manufacturer that is not officially supported by Home Assistant, you can use an integration to connect it to Home Assistant and control it through the platform. There are currently thousands of integrations available for a wide range of devices and services, including IKEA Tradfri, Philips Hue, Amazon Alexa, Shelly, HomeKit, Plex, Sonos, and many more. They all teach Home Assistant how to talk to a lot of new devices. If you want to see all of your integrations, devices, and entities in Home Assistant, then head over to the Settings menu, click the Devices and Services tab, and there the first tab shows your integrations. They are all listed here with the devices and entities that are provided by them. A click on the Configuration button allows you to change the settings. A click on the Add Integration button lets you quickly install a new one from the list of hundreds and thousands of available ones. Clicking on any of the devices links or the second tab shows you a list of all installed devices with additional information about manufacturer, model, integrations, and where available battery status. A click on any of them shows a detail page with all connected automations, scenes, scripts, and the controls and configurations, which are usually the entities. There's also a very useful logbook here showing all the recent changes to the device. Finally, a click on any of the entity links or the third tab shows a similar list including all entities. You can again click on any of them to see a detail page which shows the history, more in-depth settings, and all the associated controls. Finally, the fourth tab shows helpers. Helpers in Home Assistant are small variables that help you retain some kind of state or data outside of devices or entities. They can often help you, hence the name, build more complicated calculations or automations. There are many different types, like a date, for example, used to trigger some reminder, a number, for example, for saving the energy price to calculate costs, or a group, which is used to control multiple devices together at the same time. In this list, you will again see all your helpers by name and type. A click on the single helper will show you all the configuration details and the history. A click on the Create Helper button lets you create a new helper of any type. The final basic building block in Home Assistant is a service. Services are small pieces of functionality, like a command, that are provided by either Home Assistant Core itself or an integration. They can be actions, like sending a notification or toggling one or multiple lights. To do that, they will manipulate the status of devices or entities, often for actions that are a bit more involved than a simple state change. Home Assistant has a wide range of built-in services that can be used to control devices and interact with the system, such as the switch.turnOn for turning on a switch, mediaplayer.play for starting media playback, and the climate.setTemperature for setting the temperature of a smart thermostat. All available services in Home Assistant can be found and called via the Developer Tools and the Services tab. So, to recap, Home Assistant uses integrations to learn how to talk to different physical devices and other software out there. Each of them is then represented by a device in Home Assistant, which can have one or multiple entities representing its different features and the data it provides. If you need to store additional data or need to have even more functionality, then you can also create small helpers for that, independent of the actual physical devices. Finally, you can use services to do more or less complicated manipulations of your devices. I recently installed smart power plugs that can turn on or off and measure the power used by the connected device. The smart plugs are using a wireless protocol called Zigbee. I have a USB to Zigbee adapter in my server and taught Home Assistant how to talk to that using the ZHA, which is Zigbee Home Automation Integration. When connecting the plug to Home Assistant, it is recognized as a device with multiple entities like an on-off switch and the active power draw. I can turn it on or off using services like switch.toggle or the switch.turnOn or turn off service. I also created a helper to store the current price of electricity, which enables Home Assistant to show me my energy costs in a nice energy dashboard. In the next video, I will show you how to use all of these things to actually make your home smart with automations, blueprints, scenes and scripts. Until then, good luck on your smart home journey and consider subscribing to this channel.